Now we're finally going to put the bridge in. So this is going to seem a little bit off, but I want you to put it in upside down first. Okay, it's now upside down, just fine, sitting flat. Now take one of these. This is one of those braces that we put under the bridge that you sanded later, and it's glued on the inside. It's 1/8 of an inch thick. It's a good size spacer. Put it on the end here, not on top of your frets. Okay, so right here in the flat area. Now take a steel ruler and put it inside one of the grooves you just cut on the bandsaw and lay it flat on your bridge. Slide it all the way up to your bridge here. It's sitting on the spacer, it's up to your bridge, sitting in the notch. Now my eyes look at the distance between the bottom of the ruler and the top of the metal frets. Is that space even all the way up and down? If it's too high on this end, then we need to change the spacer, make it a little bit, thinner, which is fine. Just grab a thinner piece of wood. If it's too low on this end, then we may need to cut these notches on this end a little deeper, but let me know if you're not sure. This one looks really straight. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. Doesn't always happen that way, guys, so, take your time. But when you're happy, take a pencil and draw a line at the bottom of where that steel ruler, the bottom corner of where it hits your bridge. So I need to sand it down so that this steel ruler will sit across the notches here, this spacer, and the top of the bridge evenly. So the spacing all along here is even. It doesn't get bigger or smaller and kind of mess up your fingering. Okay, so I've got it marked. Now we're gonna go to the sander and we're gonna sand the bottom of that down until it's correct, nice and flat all the way across. So I have that mark, I'm at the sander, and as you can see, I have 2 pair of pliers. I don't care if they're needle nose or these regular pliers, but take your finger, just like we did before, try to trace that line all the way across. Use a straight edge if you need to. I'm trying to keep it as straight as I can possibly keep it. Okay, so I'm not sanding too much on one end or the other. Now, the reason I have the pliers is I don't want to hold it like that. My fingers are way too close. So we simply put it in a pair of pliers here, turn it on, grab it with a pair of pliers here, and I'm going to sand like that. You don't need to push very hard, take your time. Keep it as straight as you can. Good. Sanding until that line just disappears. Okay, now I put it in right side up. Gonna get it in the right place. I have my spacer, put it in the notch. And is the spacing right? It's actually touching my just barely, but it's touching the spacer, and the gap looks correct all the way through. So I got it right. If it's not quite touching your spacer, sand a little more. If it's a hair too small, you got to come talk to me about it, but hopefully you can always sand a little bit more, and we'll see. It's just as simple as they just cannot be touching the frets. That's the big one. Can't be touching the frets. It's got to have a space, or else none of it works. All right, the bridge does not get glued in. It just sits in there as is. When we put the strings on, the pressure will hold that down forever. It's never going to move.